Hello and welcome to Grade Expectations. I'm your host Grade, and today I wanted to talk about some of the comics that I've been selling and buying over the last couple months. So, as everyone knows, the comic market has definitely slowed down, and what I'm seeing is, there's a disparity between what buyers want to pay and what sellers want to sell for. And right now, I have my brother-in-law's trying to buy a house, and the same kind of thing is happening in the housing market, where he believes that the everybody is trying to sell their house for way too much money for, like 6 months ago, the value of a house, and he wants to pay what he thinks the house is going to be worth in a couple months. And I was talking to him kind of explaining how I see the housing market. And basically, he said people keep pulling their listings off the market. And yeah, I said, yeah, that's a thing. If no one's forced to sell, then they're just going to pull their house off the market. And certainly he wants to buy, and he was just disappointed that he's not getting the housing deal that he wants to get. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing in the housing market, or sorry, in the comic market, in that you need a buyer and you need a seller. So for me, I've had listings on eBay. I pulled them down for a while, like when the market first took a turn. I wasn't sure what was happening, or if it was a blip, or if it was going to be a more prolonged trend. So I pulled my books off eBay. It seemed like eBay was getting more expensive. There was like tax issues and stuff like that as well. So I pulled everything off and waited. And then once I, figured that the market had kind of corrected, then I put my books back up, tried to make them competitively priced. And to be honest, I have had like a lot of interest and haven't sold a lot of books. One of the books that I have sold is right here. So that's Deadpool Merc with a Mouth 7. It's the first appearance of Lady Deadpool. That's a like a first print, and I had a couple copies in 9.8, and it's a pretty rare book. It was going for a lot of money, and certainly the price has come down a little bit, but I feel like I sold it at a fair price. So I was able to kind of come to that middle ground on that book where, I like the book and I certainly still have a copy for my personal collection, but I'm willing to lower the price because, I think the book was probably overvalued a year ago. And, but at the same time, I want to keep a copy, and I think it could be worth more in the future. So that's one book I have sold. Certainly, when you're selling comic books, you kind of have to sell into the hype. And I've been selling a number of copies of Wolverine 88 as well. So this is the first fight between Wolverine and Deadpool. And I had a number of copies, that I was going to get graded. Some of them got damaged when I shipped them to CGC. And so I basically just had them in a box. And once the news came out with Hugh Jackman and Deadpool 3 kind of being a go, we started seeing the hype again for it. And, I was selling these, I would say, at a pretty good profit. So still trying to sell them. I do love the cover, and I would like to have this in a 9.8, but none of my copies are like 9.8able. So to be honest, if I saw, like a copy I thought was in really good condition, I'd be a buyer on the book. But for everything else, I'm a seller. Like I just want to have one for the PC, but I don't mind not having one. So anyway, I've been selling this book as well. And so what have I been buying? So I have been buying like the dip, or it might not even be a dip, but I've been buying, certainly. I do like collecting comics, and like I buy sell just to kind of pick what I want. So you can see over here I have my Banana Wolverine. I think that there are only 3 copies of this, or 3,000 copies of the book. There are certainly a lot of 9/8s, but this is a very desirable book, and I keep seeing it pop up in like chat groups and Facebook groups, and people want the book. And I remember as soon as I saw it, I waited another, I would say, 6 months to buy one, and I just saw it going up and decided to pull the trigger. And I'm very happy I did. I think that there aren't as many out there like where people want to sell them as there are buyers. So I think the book will continue to go up little by little. I also have my J. Scott Campbell Rogue as another negative variant. So I've added a third negative variant. And so this is the Scarlet Witch J. Scott Campbell release. So I pre-ordered this off of J. Scott Campbell's website back in the summer. And when I ordered it, they didn't have an option for signed versus unsigned. So I just bought a 9/8. And I was very happy when they sent it to me because it is signed. And he signs super tiny in weird places, but I got a signed copy when I was expecting an unsigned copy. So that was a very nice thing. I like to see that. With these books, there's an A cover, B cover, C cover. There's like the sexy cover, old school cover, and kind of like an in-between. And so I went with old school. And when you look at the census, there's, say, about 250 of each of the three of them that are, that were pre-sold and were all in 9/8. So there are a bunch of copies of this floating around, but when I have all three of them, so you can see I have the two over here, and then I have the third one, they look pretty good. And I do like the negative space if it's done right. I would say, well, personally, I think these are the only three ones that have been done well. Like for the X-Men or for, I don't know, is Scarlet Witch even an X-Men? But anyway, if I saw more or if either of those artists release new ones, I'm always looking. If either of you are watching, I'd like a blue one. So right now it looks like a stoplight, like red, yellow, green. So I'd like a blue just to kind of mellow it out. Maybe a cool Cyclops one would be next. Next. Now, this is a book where it definitely dipped. And I still believe in this book quite a bit. So this is Marvel Point One, number 1. This is the first full appearance of Kamala Khan. And she's on the cover here. I had been buying this book raw and trying to get a 9/8. And I think I submitted 6 copies of this book, and I never got a 9/8. And the reason is, and I've said this before, is basically the two corners are terrible. The way the binder cut them, they always look terrible, or I have yet to see like a mint looking one. And so a lot of the times it comes back 9/6. Also the paper, I've had them pressed as well, and the paper is not great on these books. So there aren't a lot of 9/8s of this book. There's about 350 9/8s, and there's, close to 1,000 9/6s. So I still believe in Kamala Khan. I was trying to buy this book for about $1,600 US, before the series, say about a year ago. And no one would sell. Nobody. And I put in some strong offers, maybe even more than 1,600 I offered and got laughed at. Well, this book dipped. And certainly if you own a 9/6, the book is worth about what a raw book was worth a year ago. But with the 9/8s, they dropped to about $600 US. And I just think that's a steal. Again, low print run. Certainly really low 9/8 count. I think Kamala Khan is an important character. And, a lot of people will say, well, I don't connect with this character, or, I don't even like this character. I thought the Disney Plus show was kind of brutal, and I didn't like that they changed the way her ability works. but I think that Kamala Khan is going to stand the test of time. I think that in the comics, she's a fun character. She's relatable to the reader, neat ability, and it's just kind of like up Disney's wheelhouse as far as diversity and everything else. And so I think it's a good buy. I've actually bought two of them, and like I'm not going to be selling them anytime soon. I just felt like it was the dip, and it actually, like, before the comics really dropped if the price is like lower than like pre-2020, pre-pandemic, and 600 is like at or less than they were selling before the comic boom. And like, it's still, to me, a pretty rare 9.8. And so I'm happy to buy them. Like, you see them on eBay right now, they're about, say 750. And I still think that's a good deal. Certainly I'm not going to just buy 10 of them. That's like a pretty big investment, but certainly I don't mind having two of them. Next. Still buying, like, the books that I believe in when I see them. And I would say that, like, certainly a lot of comics have been graded since the comic boom. And so finding raw copies of, like the solid books is hard, and certainly hard to find in high grade. And so I still scour eBay. I look at like Facebook Marketplace and the usual places. And if I do see, like one of the books that I would consider to be a blue chip, or I guess easy money if I grade them and they grade well, I'm buying them. So something like Young Avengers, #1. I'm still buying Taskmaster 3. So this is the first appearance of Taiguchi. This is the 1 in 25. Certainly they have their limited series right now. I don't see a lot of hype with the limited series, but I do think that this, if this is kind of like a long-term play. And if this comic does work out, then I'll be very happy that I have them. With the rest of Tiger Division, Black Cat Annual #1, that one was selling quite a bit when they announced the series. I would warn that there are a lot of copies of that book. And if there aren't, then I have a lot of the copies of that book. I was buying it quite a bit back in May of 2021. And I would suggest Black Cat Annual #1. I have at least 40 copies, just to give you an idea of what some people that are kind of specking on when it's cheap spec, and you kind of think it could be a good book. I don't mind buying and like continuing to buy near cover price, that kind of thing. But with this one, Taskmaster 3, there was no warning that it was going to be a first appearance. I do really like the cover. And, like the 1 in 25 is pretty rare for Taskmaster 3. So I think that's the better one, or I know it is a much better one, and it's certainly a lot more rare. You can see I have a 9.8 over here. I do have a few 9.8s of this book now, and I'm still buying them raw and trying to grade them. They don't come up that often. There are a few 9.8s on eBay right now. And one of the 9.6s is mine, is for sale, but that's only because I have a few 9.8s now. And when you look at the census, there's still only 79 graded, and they don't, like, I can tell you maybe one comes up a month for sale. And so I do think it's a rare book and could be a good buy in the long term. New Mutants '98. I did buy a copy before the news, and despite how many copies of this '90s book there are, I don't see it pop up that much, and certainly not in higher condition. So when I do send in books to be pressed and cleaned, this will be one of them. And I'm in a perfect world, it comes back in like a 9.6. I think so. Here's my take on the '90s books, like the '90s keys. So Amazing Spider-Man 300, and this book. What else do I want? Like, Amazing Spider-Man 361, The First Carnage. these books were printed to excess, and so there are quite a few copies. And I don't really want to buy a 9.8. If I got a 9.8, I would kind of want to sell it because I think that they're overvalued. Just like if you look on the census, there are thousands of 9.8s. And so I do love Deadpool, and I want to have, like the first appearance on my wall. But I think with those 90 books, I'm just coming to terms with, I'm okay with a 9.6. There are a lot of 9.6s, so I should be able to eventually get a copy for me. Newsstand would be nice, because they're certainly a lot more rare, but, I'm easy. You can always find these 90s books. And so I wouldn't overpay, and I'd be picky. And that's just kind of my take on it right now. Another book that I've been buying, or that I bought. So, again, I was talking about how it's harder and harder to find, like those key comic books in raw, and then just getting them graded. And I found that I've been buying, if I think a book has legs, I've been buying, like I'm more of a modern collector. So I've been buying, them as they come out. I've been pre-ordering some. So this is one of the books that I did pre-order a few copies of. So this is the first appearance of three more Spider variants. And then on the 1 in 25 cover, it's the first appearance and first cover of Silly Spider. And there were rumors that this character was created for Into the Spider-Verse 2 and that he would be making an appearance. And I just haven't seen a lot of hype or buzz on this comic. And I kind of like the cover. So I'll be getting a couple of these graded, and I'm sure they'll come back 9.8s, and I'm going to have one for the PC for sure. But I haven't seen it anywhere, so I thought I'd mention. I still think it's a pretty good comic to have. Because, again, Edge of Spider-Verse 5, it's the last one. It's like the only one where the 1 in 25 you would care about, and you'd think that thered be less Edge of Spider-Verse 5s versus Edge of Spider-Verse 1s. So it's something that's on my radar, and I do have a few copies. I'm always buying Strange Academy. It is very hard, at least like from my viewpoint, to find this book in good condition. So this is Strange Academy #1. This is the 1 in 10 variant. I do like cover A the best. I also like the Art Adams variant. I do have a number of Strange Academy #1s, and I have a bunch of 9.6s that I haven't sold as well. And I thought I was going to sell a bunch when they relaunch Strange Academy finals. And I don't know if it was laziness or I just didn't feel like there was like that hype or that spike, but I didn't sell them. I didn't try to. And so they're just kind of sitting there. And I believe in the book enough where I don't mind holding. But if I see a raw copy and it's in good condition, I'm going to be buying. So this is one that I won on eBay. And I was happy with the price. Like the price has come down a little bit, but you're still paying like, I would say $400 US for a cover A. That one I think I paid $80 US, like for a raw copy that I thought was in pretty good condition. So it just gives you an idea of what I'm doing. Last one I wanted to show, Strange Academy Finals #1. This is the 1 in 50 Momoko cover. There's been a lot of hype with Momoko. When they did the original Strange Academy, she had a, a store exclusive cover that was of magic and was very popular. And so with the 1 in 50, when they released, when it was on preview, they had the wrong cover for it. They had like a Miracle Man cover. And, I'm a big Strange Academy fan, and certainly I don't mind putting my money where my mouth is on a book like this. And I do really like the idea of this book. Now, is there a first appearance? I think there is. There's a an unnamed character with pink hair that seems to be writing home to her family about what's happening. Um, could be nothing, and certainly it is nothing so far. But I don't know. A lot of people are Magic fans, and they do like the cover. And I like the book. I like the Strange Academy story and the characters that they've been kind of developing. So I've been buying that book as well. The last thing I wanted to mention is Miles Morales. His comic series is ending and then restarting again. So Miles Morales #1 I think comes out in January. You know, like it will have a high print run, but this is the third time. I don't count Spider-Man as a Miles Morales title, but they've had Miles Morales #1. They've re-released it, Miles Morales #1, and now they're doing it a third time. Well, the first time that book is valuable. The second time that book is valuable. The variants are valuable, and so now they're doing it again in January. So I would suggest that if you're going to pre-order books, that's a pretty good one to buy a couple copies of Cover A. Now, speaking of Momoko, she has a 1 in 200 cover, variant cover for this book. And so she actually has two covers. She has Miles Morales Spider-Man in his old school, or sorry, his new school suit. Doesn't look great. But then the 1 in 200 has Miles Morales in his classic look, and you know, like he's got spiders on his shoulder, and the colors are great. Like it's very, you know, like blue, black, red, and white, and it pops. So for me, it is very important because I love the artwork. I love showing the artwork for there to be a great cover, and this 1 in 200 definitely has a great cover. It is very expensive because it's a 1 in 200. And for a while, like the pre-orders were above 200 US. So above ratio. And I'm not sure where it is now. I have pre-ordered two copies. And I like from different places, and I thought I was paying, you know, like market price. And it's an insane amount of money, but I really love the cover. I do think that there's a high likelihood that there's going to be first appearances in this new Miles Morales #1. You know, like good artist and high ratio. So it kind of ticks all the boxes for me. So that's one book that I have pre-ordered. Now it is a huge gamble in that it's a 1 in 200, and those ratios don't normally hold their value to be like 200 US. But I think in this case, it could be a good buy. But, you know, like anything when you know, like if you buy Cover A, you're investing $5. And I think that that's a better spec in that, you know, like you invest $5, you lose $5, that's nothing. Whereas the book might be worth $50 in a couple years. But this 1 in 200, it ticks the boxes for me. I do think it's like a feature book, like one that you would want to show off in a couple years. And so I am willing to buy a couple copies, and God willing, they come, you know, in mint condition so I can get them graded and then everything else. But it's something to keep on your radar. And then the other thing I'm doing is I'm buying the Mandalorian books as they come out, and I do think that there are a lot of first appearances in those books, and you know there's a ton of Star Wars hype, and the Mandalorian's been pretty big, so that's something else I'm buying. So yeah, that's kind of the update from Great Expectations. I am always looking to buy raw comics, and you know I'm scouring. I'm just not seeing as much as I want. I do think that the prices that people are selling for or trying to sell at are high, and that's just the disparity between what buyers want to buy at and what sellers are willing to sell at. And so I think that, you know, with all this uncertainty and interest rates and everything else, you're going to see a lot of books come down. I don't know, like they've come down. I do think that some books will come down more, and you're really going to see now the books that were just hype, and the books where there is constant demand, and there is even pent up demand. And I would say that this is a great time to be looking for books. You just have to be picky, and that's what I've been doing. I certainly want to expand the collection. I certainly have books I want to sell as well. And it's just kind of finding that happy middle ground. So, everyone, thank you for your time. And this has been Grade with Great Expectations. Have a great night.